In the sunlit interior of Paldea, hidden among fields of peppers, there was a small village where Pokémon, fire and memory had always walked side by side. Smoliv rested among the orchards. Capsikids swayed in the wind like tiny living embers in the vegetation. Fido wandered near the village ovens, drawn by the scent of fresh bread. And at dusk, small candles were lit on simple altars outside the houses, an old tradition to remember those who had passed on. It was a quiet village, but one night something different appeared there. At the edge of the village stood a circle of black stones, naturally warmed by the heat rising from the ground. On special nights, the villagers left small offerings there: fruit, aromatic herbs, dried peppers, and orange flowers. Not out of fear, but out of respect. They believed fire preserved memory, and that the warmth of the earth carried echoes of those who had already gone. It was after one of those nights that he appeared. Resting between the warm stones was an unusual egg. Its shell was pale, crossed by red and orange veins, like glowing cracks in living coal. The egg did not look lost. It looked placed exactly where it was meant to be. For days, the villagers protected the site without interfering. Chansey, who sometimes visited the village to help the sick, stayed near the circle of stones. Smoliv watched in silence. Even a shy Torkoal, who usually rested near the square, approached once. And then, on a golden morning beneath soft sunlight, the egg opened. From within emerged a small red creature with a rounded snout, curious eyes, and an adorably innocent face. A crocodilian hatchling, a small being of fire, Fuecoco. At the top of his head flickered small yellow tufts of flame, signs that his body carried a fire sac too small to contain all that energy. From the very beginning, the fire inside him always leaked out a little, almost like a warm heart beating outside the body. And as if guided by some ancient instinct, he went straight for the hot food and began eating everything in sight. That was how Fuecoco grew. Not exactly far from the others, but always a little apart. He was not sad. He was not rejected. He was simply solitary by nature. While the Smoliv gathered in the trees and the Fido played together near the houses, Fuecoco preferred quiet corners. A warm wall beneath the sun, a smooth stone at the end of the street, or the small slope behind the village where the heat of the ground rose strongest. There, he would spend hours doing nothing at all, simply feeling the warmth, blinking slowly, watching the world as if nothing needed to be rushed. That temperament suited his nature perfectly. Fuecoco is relaxed, moves at his own pace, and runs the moment he sees food. All it took was someone slicing fruit in the square, baking something in the ovens, or dropping a berry along the road, and the little loner changed completely. Guided entirely by the promise of a good meal, the villagers laughed with affection. The village children already knew. If they wanted to find Fuecoco, all they had to do was follow the smell of food. And that was how, little by little, he stopped being only the creature from the fire egg and became part of the life of the village. He was still solitary, but he was no longer alone. Over time, the village itself seemed to shape itself around him. Near the crops, Capsakid shared the sunlit ground that Fuecoco loved. Smoliv brought a gentle contrast to his warm energy. Fido appeared on mornings when the smell of bread filled the streets, and at night When the lanterns were lit, small Grivard sometimes stood at the edge of the village's old cemetery, silent and motionless, as if sensing some future connection that not even Fuecoco yet understood. But there was still something inside that little crocodile that had not fully matured. The fire within him was not only heat, it was voice. At night, the villagers began hearing strange sounds from the slope where he used to rest. They were not roars, not yet songs. They were rough, guttural vocalizations. Until, beneath an orange sky, the fire finally found its voice. The small, relaxed body grew. The structure changed. The energy on top of his head stopped being only a leaking flame and began to organize itself. Fuecoco evolved. Now broader, heavier, and more intense, Crocolore carried on his head a true nest of fire, and at the center of that nest glowed a blazing orb, like a flaming egg. And fire and voice became even more connected, because his flame sac was now linked to his vocal cords, allowing him to release powerful cries together with his fire. And that was exactly what the villagers noticed. Crocolore was no longer only a sleepy glutton stretched across warm stones. Now there was something more. When he drew in a deep breath, the fire above his head pulsed. When he lifted his chest, deep sounds escaped his throat. But sometimes, at dusk, he would stop in the square and let out those deep, resonant calls that echoed between the stone houses. At first, the villagers did not understand. Then they began to notice something curious. When Crocolore vocalized near the village's night altars, the whole atmosphere changed, calmer, heavier, more reverent. The candle flames no longer trembled as much. The Grivard approached without fear. And then came the night that changed everything. Each year, the village held a ceremony of remembrance. It was not a night of sorrow, but of respect, light, and longing. Families gathered in the main square. Candles were lit, one by one. The names of those who had passed were whispered with tenderness. That night, Crocolore watched from a distance, quiet, still. The fire on his head seemed more alive than ever. Then Crocolore slowly stepped into the center of the square. The village fell silent. He raised his head. The fire egg above his nest glowed brighter until it looked like a living ember. The flame opened. The energy changed form, and when the brightness faded, it was no longer Crocolore standing there. It was Skeledirge, large, imposing, solemn, a fire and ghost-type crocodile with the presence of an ancient guardian. And above his head, where there had once been only a simple fire egg, now rested a small flaming bird. Not just a flame, a presence, a soul in the shape of fire. At this stage, Skeledirge's song is said to soothe the souls of those who hear it. There, in the silent square, before the lit altars and the memories of the village, Skeledirge opened his mouth and sang. It was not a roar. It was not an attack. It was a deep, resonant, enveloping song, a melody of fire. The little bird above his head moved with it, as if taking part in the performance, almost like a living microphone shaped by flame itself. And with every note, the air seemed to tremble with warmth and tenderness at once. The candles in the square burned brighter. The flowers on the altars trembled softly, Grievard and Houndstone, who had been watching from afar, came closer without fear. Some villagers closed their eyes, others cried in silence. Because Skeledirge's song did not bring pain, it brought peace, as if he was saying, without words, that remembrance was not suffering, but a way of keeping something alive. And in that moment, the village understood. The solitary hatchling once born among warm stones, the distracted glutton who slept in the sun, the adolescent creature of raw fire and rough voice, had become something greater. Not a king, not a monster, but a being of passage, a guardian between ember and memory. Skeledirge continued living on the edges of the village, among the old walls, the warm hills, and the circle of stones where he had first been born. He did not belong to the people, and the people knew that, but a silent pact now existed between them. On nights of remembrance, the villagers left space at the center of the square, and when the moment came, Skeledirge appeared. The elders bowed their heads in reverence. The children watched in wonder. Smoliv gathered near the flower beds in the square. Capsacids swayed in the warm wind. Fido and Daxbun remained quiet near the houses. Grievard and Houndstone, discreet as ever, appeared at the edges of the ceremony, and for a few brief minutes, the entire village breathed in the rhythm of that song. Fuecoco's story had always been greater than it first appeared. He was born as a small, instinctive flame, a relaxed, distracted, hungry hatchling, warming himself on stones and living without hurry. Then he matured. His energy took shape. His voice gained weight. His flame became an egg. And at last, his song gained a soul. And so, the little fire-type crocodile ceased to be only an adorable creature from the countryside of Paldea and became something almost sacred, a ghostly singer, a calmer of souls, a living reminder that fire was never meant only to consume. At last, the solitary Fuecoco had found where he truly belonged.